you can learn how to play guitar. In a previous video, I showed you which guitar I think a beginner should get, and you could go watch that video. But in this video, I'm going to show a little thing that's also helpful for when you're getting a guitar, and that is the difference between certain types of strings. What strings should you get? I'm not sure. It depends on what you want. So these strings here are bronze strings, and they are what is called 80-20 bronze strings. So that's the ratio from copper to tin or tin to copper. I'm not remembering right now, but they are 80-20, and that's supposed to be one of the brightest sounds. So these strings are very nice, and they don't really hurt your fingers. They'll hurt your fingers a little bit more than nylon strings, but they're very nice strings, and I recommend them for a beginner. However, some beginners would prefer other strings. If you're more advanced, you might also prefer other strings. For this guitar has nylon strings. Nylon strings are supposedly supposed to be much more soft on your fingers. Now, these strings are nice and they don't hurt your fingers as much. However, on this guitar they do, because you have to push the strings so far down to get to the fret. On those guitars, the string is very close to the fret. On this guitar, the strings are really far away from the fret, so it does actually hurt your fingers on this guitar. However, if you put these strings on that guitar, it wouldn't hurt your fingers quite as much. However, I don't really like the sound of them as much, because the sound is very clicky-clacky, and you don't really hear as much music. I'm using the same pick for both instruments. You can hear a lot of noise that isn't music, it's just the string hitting the pick, or the pick hitting the string. And I don't really like that, but for some beginners they prefer that because it doesn't hurt their fingers quite as much. Last, we have this guitar. This guitar also has bronze strings, but the ratio of copper to tin or tin to copper is 85-15. So it's a little bit different. It's a little bit less bright and a little bit more loud, but I think it sounds very nice as well. You'll also have to keep in mind that there are differences between these guitars other than the strings. But the strings, you'll be able to hear a very distinct difference between the strings, except this one and that one are very close because they're the same bronze. Another thing they use a lot is steel, but I believe those strings would hurt your fingers the most. So what I recommend is bronze strings. 80-20 is the best in my opinion, but you could do 85-15.